So we see more often the board until at least a significant seed round is just the founders, whether it's one or two or three, however many founders there are. And not every founder wants to be a director. Some technical founders, more often than not, the technical founders just want to build product and don't necessarily want to deal with the governance on the board, which, take it with a pinch of salt. For some people, it's important to have responsibility on the board, regardless of whether you're tech or non-tech. Because ultimately you should be able to have a say in how the business is operated. But when you talk about bringing other people onto the board, when we draft terms, typically you need to hold a certain percentage of equity as an investor to be able to appoint someone to sit on the board. So in the early stage, that might be 10 or 20%. But we'll often see larger investors want to have a right, regardless of what percentage they hold, to appoint a board seat. And that's to obviously protect their investment. They also ask for observer rights, so they can attend all board meetings. They get provided with the same kind of notice and agenda and information, but they just can't make a vote. They just can't vote as if they were a director. So they can attend, provide thought and opinion. That varies depending on who the observer is. But then ultimately they can't affect that decision by voting at the same time. But that happens typically at seed to Series A. You do see at least a request to have either individual investor groups having their own board member, or collectively that they can vote as an investor group to appoint one person to represent their interests on the board. So, it really varies on the terms, but we are seeing it at both seed, but definitely in Series A.
And so founders don't have any say in who that appointee is?
Not always. You can occasionally squeeze terms in to have a review process with the founders that says, they will not unreasonably withhold their approval to appoint someone to the board. But they're allowed to have a say in, some of the terms around what kind of experience they have, or making sure that there's a good fit relationship-wise. Because, this is a person you're going to be spending a lot of time with. So it's important to make sure that it's a good relationship, or there's potential for it to become a good relationship. If it's difficult from day one, it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. So rarely, I would say 10% of the time, we see any kind of review terms, which gives the founders any discretion over who the investors will appoint to represent themselves. Common, but not irregular. So it's probably an intermediary. We see as the businesses start to grow and they're looking for domain specialists or really significant channel partner board members, so someone who can come on and help them grow the business, or looks great on their advisory board. So someone who, if you had LinkedIn person and you were looking to move into a marketing CRM platform, then that would be amazing for your business. So, you are seeing people grow advisory boards from someone that they respect from an industry where they think that they will gain great knowledge and an extended network. Often an advisory board is both around keeping the founders accountable, but also you're bringing a network onto your board that you normally couldn't, you couldn't reach independently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, our law firm has its own advisory board, and that's a mix of people who are both in legal and external from legal and come from entrepreneurial backgrounds, because as a collective, that's an amazing network for us to be able to utilize both internally and externally to help make all of the lawyers in the firm better, but also to be able to, extend the reach of the firm itself. So advisory boards are great. It's just about managing those and, having appropriate agreements in place, especially if you're providing them with equity. If you're paying them, it's somewhat different, but giving them skin in the game as well, then you want to be able to hold them accountable to that advisory service that they're providing to you in return for the shares.